Hi, I'm Dr. Tees Krasyan. Did you know that many people never really recover from a traumatic brain injury? So when the brain gets injured from impact, whether it's a car accident or it's a sports activities or a person has a fall, the cells in the brain called microglia become active and they create this inflammatory cascade. And like a forest fire, this inflammatory cascade starts to spread and spread and spread. So many patients never really notice their symptoms from the traumatic brain injury until years and years later as the inflammatory cascade has progressed. A lot of this research has really come to light as professional athletes have been studied, like in the NFL, and soldiers have been studied with explosive um, injuries to the brain from being in Iraq. But the point is that we know that this condition called chronic traumatic encephalopathy (CTE) is a growing concern, and that many people, once they receive a brain injury, continue to have an inflammatory cascade, and then it shows up years later. And how it typically shows up is that people come in usually with depression. They can't get out of it. They get really tired. They get really fatigued. They can't really do much throughout the day. They don't really have much brain endurance, and they end up with just chronic symptoms, and no one really knows what to do with them. So they get labs, they get workups, they get all these things, and no one can really identify the main cause. And everyone tends to treat everything but the brain. They'll treat their adrenal dysfunctions and support them with nutritional supplements, or blame it on environmental toxins, or a whole bunch of things. But at the end of the day, the key mechanism is neuroinflammation. And in these individuals that are suffering from a traumatic brain injury that has now progressed to a chronic inflammatory state, have to have their microglial cells change from a pro-inflammatory to an anti-inflammatory state. So in the literature, this is called switching M1 to M2 pathway activity. And this can be done through diet, nutrition, lifestyle strategies that can potentially shift these mechanisms. But they're not easy, they're complex. You have to really know a protocol and a workup to go through each of these steps. It's not as simple as just taking a magic supplement. They really involve significant clinical workups. This is why I designed my course on neuroinflammation. I wanted to teach practitioners how to go through this with the patient. And if you learn these skills and you know how to identify a chronic traumatic encephalopathy and someone who's received a brain injury is now suffering, and you know how to work backwards, and you know how to look for all the different things that prime the glial cells, how to look for all those things in a clinical setting, you can make a dramatic impact on many of these patients that are suffering from this chronic inflammatory mechanisms. I hope to see you in my neuroinflammation course. I will teach you these mechanisms, and it will have a dramatic impact in many of these patients that you may be seeing in your office. Thank you.